Hi there everybody, I'm here at Kimmeridge Bay in Dorset, an absolutely beautiful location for some seascape photography, and where I'm standing now, looking behind me, is probably what you would call the classic composition here for a wide angle seascape shot. It's a very well known rock formation and one that's been photographed quite a few times. However, I'm here with a macro lens today, so we're going to look at some ways that you can get creative at the coast. We're going to look at some abstract compositions, go beyond the obvious and try and seek out some finer details in the landscape with the rocks, patterns, textures and colour, and try and find some ways that you can come away from a well-known location with something maybe a little bit different, something that you might not have thought about beforehand. Okay, so we've moved a little bit further up from the shoreline now, and we're up against the cliff edges now. And one of the reasons I absolutely love coming down to Kimmeridge is I think it's absolutely fascinating here that we're surrounded by over 150 million years of geological rocks, and they make really great subjects for some macro photography. So what do we need for macro photography? Well, I guess the first thing is we need a dedicated macro lens, and I don't think you'll find a much better one than the Sigma 105mm F2.8 DG DN, which I've got here. And what this is going to allow me to do is get really close up to my subject matter, and we're going to see these fine layers of texture, colours, shapes. And when you photograph them with a macro lens, it's completely different to looking at it with the naked eye, and I think it's going to be something you're going to want to try out. So let's move further down the beach and see what we can find to take some photos of. Okay, so this is a great example of what I was talking about. Normally, I guess many people would just walk straight past this ledge and not give it a second thought, but if you come and study this rock up close, it's just, for me personally, a wealth of photographic opportunity here. There's lines going in different directions, there's different colours here, different shades and textures, and with this lens we can capture all of that, and it's gonna really make something quite interesting, I think, to look at. So let's take some pictures now, and I can show you what I mean. So I'm gonna look, I think I like this bit here because we've got 3 or 4 different colours coming together, some vertical lines, some horizontal textures here, and we can get right in and frame up a composition. So what I actually really like about this image is all these lines. I think they make really interesting patterns, and they break up the image as well. It's almost like a natural rule of thirds, and this, I guess, is a prime example of how useful a macro lens can be here at the coast, because this is a photograph that you probably wouldn't see with your natural eye. And it really is revealing sort of the layers of history of this area, and I think it's kind of, that's quite a cool thing to think about, actually, really, that you're actually photographing a lot of history of how long these rocks have been here and will remain here in the future. When I'm taking these type of images, I really like to work handheld. I find that it gives me a lot more freedom to move around and explore quickly and easily, and quite a lot of these compositions would be pretty hard to kind of use a tripod with. So what I'm going to do is make sure that my shutter speed is fast enough to compensate any blur that might occur from shooting handheld, and I'm going to use an aperture of around f8 or f11 to make sure I can maintain some sharp, crisp images. We've got plenty of daylight here today, so it's not going to be too much of a problem. So with this lens being 105mm, you're going to want to have a shutter speed of a minimum of 1/100th, but I like to go faster than that, maybe 1/400th, 1/500th, just to make sure that my shutter speed is fast enough. So what I'm doing at the moment to make sure that I have as much edge-to-edge sharpness in these images is I'm shooting straight on. I'm going to rest my hand underneath the camera, and I'm also using the camera's spirit level just to make sure that I'm 100% straight on against my subject, and then focusing up and taking my image. Actually, one of my favourite things about photographing with a macro lens is actually it almost gives the interpretation of the complete opposite. This could almost be like a drone shot, looking directly down on the landscape from really high above, because it's these shapes and patterns of almost make out kind of like the bay of the coast, and you know, like a tributary running through it. So again, macro photography just really unleashes a next level of creativity that you can create some really quite interesting results with. So we touched on this a little bit earlier, but one of the key things for me when I'm taking pictures is to kind of just sometimes kind of have a little sit down and just take stock of where you are and have a look around and sort of try and make some compositions up on the fly. We've discovered some pools of water that have been revealed from the tide, and they actually make some really interesting compositional aids. We can use the reflections in the water to get some really interesting photographs of these rocks here, which are also, I think, really nice colours and shapes to photograph. And that's another shot that we can experiment with. And I'm going to try shooting a little bit wider, maybe f4 for this one, to get some softer background, to make the main focus on the water, and just experiment for a bit and see what we can come up with, and make some more photographs. So there's a bit of a gentle wind today, which is actually creating some really nice ripples across the surface of this water, which, if you photograph them at a shallower depth of field, can create some really nice out of focus effects across the foreground of your composition, and I think it makes quite a nice photograph. So this was shooting the reflections in the pools left from high tide, and I think you can really see how using the reflection to create a sort of rippled texture throughout the image. Again, another layer of abstraction to add creativity to the picture, and then you've got these beautiful, really contrasty rocks in the background. We were really lucky that the sun came through right at the golden hour, and these isolated pebbles out on the ledge were just really picking up the light, and again, using a shallow depth of field to focus just on the pebble was throwing these beautiful golden sparkles shimmering from the background. I think it makes a really nice abstract image. So hopefully the tips that we've talked about in this video will inspire you to pick up your macro lens and take it with you the next time you're headed down to the coast. It might encourage you to maybe look beyond the more obvious compositions and get your creative juices flowing and see what you can find by using the macro lens. Until next time, I'll see you later.